one more interview. We have a very special personality with us, a very prominent personality, especially who has made a very big name in the field of service law, senior advocate, P.S. Rajagopal, sir. Sir, thank you so much and welcome to this interview, sir.
Thank you.
To begin with, sir, could you just say a few words about your childhood days?
Except saying that if you look at my village even today, you would not believe that I could have marched so far having height from that village. There is nothing much I can say. See, it is such a primitive village. The population then was hardly maybe 600 or so. But variety of life was very much in that village. Out of that 600 population, there were Muslims. Hindus, of course, there were there. And one special significant thing about that place is there was a Christian family also. Moses, I remember. Normally, those days in rural areas, if you have to meet a Christian family, it will be available only when there is at least a local fund dispensary. Your nurses used to be from. In my village, there was no hospital, no nursing home, no private practitioner also in medicine. But still, there was a Christian family that I can remember as a unique point in my village, Pandikari. And for studies, it was a nightmare. There was a school which was then known as new type middle school. What is that new type? I am not able to figure out even today. Perhaps the new type was for classes 1 to 8, there were only 3 teachers. That may be the new type. Where a teacher will have to be managing more than one class at a time. And remember, those days it was not 7th standard was not the end of middle school, it was 8th standard. And at the end of 8th standard, we used to have a district level examination. And we used to be awarded a degree called as lower secondary. If we pass lower secondary, we have done something about that. And another thing about my village is that, except agriculture, there is no other occupation. Even today, there is no other occupation. And there was one masjid, one temple. But we never had any communal tensions. It was such a great mixture of cultures. Their major festival was Muharram, which would be celebrated for 9 days. And Hindus' major celebration was Ram Navami. They used to have Ram Saptah for 1 week, Ram Bhajans and all that. In both these celebrations, everybody from the village would participate. We would not know who is Muslim, who is Christian, who is Hindu. That unique culture of my village is something which we have to cherish, particularly in the present day. When I look back to my village life, I feel that whether I am living in the same country, in the same society in which I grew up. And after my marriage, when I took my wife to my village, first person eagerly awaiting me was one Madikade, all these, irrespective of their names, we call her Goma. She had told my aunt who lives there, when Rajagopal comes with his bride, first you inform me. And that lady, she was by then maybe around my age now. She came home, gave flowers to my wife and said, బాగుండమ్మయ్య because she could not talk even in Kannada because there is a foreign language. My village language spoken is Telugu. బాగుండమ్మయ్య అంటే చెన్నాగిరమ్మ. So that is the unique thing about my village. I would cherish for my lifetime, and I would like my future generations also should cherish that value. We made a society. We are all one. That is something very great about my village, which shaped my thinking. Then for education, I was telling that it is a nightmare. After 8th, what? Nearest high school was at Chedur, which is 5 miles away. 5 miles away means literally 5 miles away, because there was no conveyance except one, Vijayalakshmi Motors. Vijayalakshmi was only in the name, but mostly it is to be a failed bus. Half the time bus will not be available. And we used to walk. Walking by road, it takes 5 miles. Then there used to be Kaldari in the 5 kilometers. Either way we have to walk. Walking was our usual mode of conveyance to the school, which was 5 miles away. After SSLC also I could study there because one group of 3 philanthropists, they started a school. And from there, college, if you have to go, college is only at the district headquarters, Kolar. And one good thing about my education is I had no choice. Forget about this choice of school. Choice of section also was not there. Yesterday I was telling my grandson. We were 17 people in the 8th standard in the high school. In my batch contained 17 people. For 17 people, conducting one section itself is a costly affair. There is no question of, we were studying, grandpa, in another 1 month, this academic year will go over. Next year, my classmates will go to different sections. I told, what thing you are packing? I had no different school, no different section, only one class. Then college also no choice, because the entire district had only one college. That was Government First Grade College, Kolar. This is how our education scenario was. Today, children are spoiled for choice. And I see children saying, I am bored in this school, change me to another school. I don't know where from our children are learning these words. I am getting bored in this school. But the teachers I had were something unique. I always remember one teacher who I think shaped my outlook to life. Language teachers are always second-rate citizens, have always been second-rate citizens in our education system. I don't know why. Language means just English teacher, he is on a higher pedestal. Kannada teacher, he is always ill-treated amongst the teachers. He would be invariably a part-time teacher. Why part-time? Because all the 3 classes in the high school he also has to teach. Almost every day there used to be 1 hour of teaching in Kannada. At least 5 days in a week out of 6 days. That means he had a teaching workload of 15 hours a week. But he was a part-time teacher. But that commitment was something so unique. And those of you would be knowing, I don't know whether you had this Vyakarana and Chandra Shastra.
We had, sir.
You had, you were lucky to have that. Study of grammar, it was a disliked chapter within Kannada textbook. That was a disliked part of the language. One day one boy, my classmate, stood up and told, "Sir, Vyakarna test bರುತ್ತೆ sir marks." Means how many marks in question paper will contain on grammar? Great man, my Kannada Pandit, Srinivasa ಅಂತ. ಅವ್ರ ಭಾಷೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ, ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದನ್ನೇ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಐ ಕ್ಯಾನಾಟ್ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್ ದಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್. ಯಾಕೋ 10 ನಂಬರ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಬಿಟ್ಬೇಡೋಣ ಅಂತಲ್ಲ, ವ್ಯಾಕರಣ ತಾಯಿ ಕಣ ಅಂತ. Grammar is mother. What he said was, mother of language is grammar. In later life I realized, mother of life is also grammar. See, after accidentally I joined the bank as an officer. And by choice I became a union director. It was because I found it unique that there was a trade union of officers. Normally officers, they say, are part of the management. But we had an officers trade union. It was quite vibrant union. And when the fight between the management and the trade union became very high intensity, what is the easiest tool that the management would pick up? Transfer the leaders. About 26 office bearers were transferred all over the country. I was also transferred to Davangere. And 2 of my colleagues from Bangalore, one was transferred to Bijapur and another was transferred somewhere else. All the 3 of us we questioned the transfers before the High Court, saying that it amounts to victimization. By now you know what will be the fate of any challenge to the transfer. Now of course in the government we have a transfer policy which the High Court has declared it to be statutory. Those were the days when transfer was considered to be a right of the management. So our petitions were dismissed. It was actually admitted for hearing, it was heard in a war footing, and we had an interim order also. What is the interim order? Not to take any disciplinary action till the case is decided. Once the case is decided, it will be treated as unauthorized absence and all that will be there. Afternoon 2:30 the matter had been listed for pronouncement. It was pronounced. It was against us. All the 3 of us were present in the court. I went straight to the railway station to book my ticket to the place where I had been transferred. My 2 colleagues, they went straight to head office of Kannada to negotiate whether there is any chance of their being in Bangalore. My colleagues, honestly, they did not know where I have worked. Later I learned that they were searching for me, so that I also will be part of that conversation. I would not call it because negotiation can happen only from a position of strength. See, after losing, when we go for talks, it was not negotiation of rights, it was the negotiation of terms of surrender. That's why it is said, never negotiate out of fear, never be afraid of negotiations. These are the 2 principles in negotiation. Then management agreed to retain them in Bangalore. I did not waste any time. I booked the ticket same day for the next day's flight. Next day I traveled. Third day I reported it down. From there I telephoned my colleagues saying that, look, I have reported for duties at Davangere. They told, no, you did a mistake. If you had come with us, you would also have been accommodated here. Then I said, in life, grammar is not negotiable. arithmetic can be compromised. If I had negotiated and remained at Bangalore at the mercy of the management, I would not have been elected office bearer of a democratic trade union, but I would have been a member of management Kripa Poshita Nataka Mandali. Only Nataka Mandalis can be there. You see Kottureshwara Kripa Poshita Nataka Mandali, Sri Venkateshwara Kripa Poshita Nataka Mandali. That is where the grammar of life is important. Arithmetic is negotiable. If I am in Bangalore, I may save 100 rupees. If I am in Davangere, I may have to incur expenses to establish 1 year because my wife and child have to stay here. I have to be staying in Davangere. That is arithmetic of life. But surrendering and remaining at Bangalore, fighting and going to Davangere, that is grammar of life. This is where I always remember Srinivas Kaya, my great teacher. And he was never made a regular teacher. That is by the management. That's another reality of life.
Sir, you just spoke about your trade union stints and everything. But what chose you to become a lawyer? And
If I tell how I became a lawyer, advocate, I should say I am an advocate by accident. What was that accident? When I was heading the trade union in banking industry, slowly I came to realize that I only have passed in the bank and nothing much of a future. Remember, when I joined the banking industry, I was the youngest bank officer in the country, in the entire banking system. I was exactly 20 years, 6 months and 12 days old when I became a bank officer. There was no direct recruit officer in the entire industry at that time, and it was very promising. The career was ahead of me. And to tell you frankly, on the first day when I came out of the head office in the bank after reporting for duties, I just looked back and said, yes, one day I will walk out of this building as chairman of this bank. That was the confidence, and yes, you may call it arrogance also, I don't know, because I have been what I am and I cannot change. But when I saw the reality, I felt that in this suffocating servitude, commercial decisions cannot flourish, because bank being a commercial organization, we should have certain amount of discretion in taking decisions. And everything was chief huzur culture was. I should say that I was the first independent union leader in the banking research. My union was not politically affiliated to anybody. And there was a lot of freedom of thought and freedom of action. Sooner than later, I realized that my days in bank are numbered. At that time, one, I don't know, there is accident or coincidence, what it is. In January 1983, in 6 newly nationalized banks, a standardization exercise took place. I had a major role to play in this sense because I was negotiating on behalf of the two of those 6 nationalized banks. One is Vijay, which was headquartered in Bangalore, and the corporation bank was headquartered at Mangalore. That took me to Kochi, Ernakulam one day, because in implementation of standardization, there were some problems in Vijay. And I had the good fortune of meeting one evening there to brief a senior counsel by name, Mr. T. Sale. Normally, the senior counsels are not supposed to meet the clients directly. But in Vijay, I met the senior counsel, Mr. T. Sale, and I briefed him. And he said, But he made an exception in my case because the General Secretary of the Trade Union on whose behalf I was going, I went there. His father-in-law and Mr. T.C. and Menon, both of them were underground prisoners in communist movement in Kerala. So because of that connection, he told my friend, you can come. Then we went. It was evening 6:30 or the discussion started with the advocate. Up to 8:30 in the night, I was explaining to him on this case. And look at his speed. He asked, you come morning at 8 o'clock, you are according to the morning 8 o'clock I read. TC and Menon was sitting on one side. Myself and my friend on the other side. He asked the young man, what are you doing in the lab? He said, I am in the credit department. I am recognized one of the better credit analyzers, and I got a lot of encomiums from the bank. He got bored. Yes, what the hell you are doing in the bank? And I was taken aback, what sin I have committed? He said, you should be here, not there. He told me that you would be better off as an advocate, and this profession needs people like you who analyze things. Then I signed, my friend signed the affidavit, we took Bangalore flight. First thing I did was getting down from the aircraft. I straight went to Vishweshwaram Law College because it was admission season. I took an application, came home, and I said my wife, tomorrow I am joining Law College for part-time course. She started laughing. That's how I became an advocate. By the time I lost my job in the bank this was open to me, and I became an advocate. And it was baptism by fire. I submitted an application. In that you have to, for enrollment application, you have to mention about your past employment and all. I wrote faithfully. I was working in Kerala Bank as a manager. I was dismissed from service. I have filed a petition questioning the dismissal. I want to enroll. Then one member of the enrollment committee, he raised a point. Those days in law there was no subsequently a rule came. If a person is dismissed on a charge involving moral turpitude, he cannot enroll for 2 years or something. That is present. Those days that rule was not, and nobody can say that. You see, fighting for officers' cause is something involving moral turpitude. Of course, these days that is the thing. Anything talking something not palatable to ruling dispensation. It is a treason or what they call I don't know. What is sedition? Sedition. This sedition, I had not committed anything like sedition. Then he said, I had to give an undertaking, saying that I will not claim practice. Because he asked me a question, that enrollment committee. Now you have questioned the dismissal. You are enrolling as an advocate also. When the question of back wages comes, who will assess your income? The question was very weird. I asked, whoever is assessing your income, he will assess my income also. After all, to assess anybody's income, there is only one income tax department. It is not different between, because he is an elected office bearer of Park Council. He is not assessed by somebody else. And I am an entered to the profession, I am not assessed by somebody else. There again, grammar of my life. And then Mr. Rajagopal came to Mr. Rajagopal, even before he became senior advocate, he was not a senior advocate, he was my advocate for my union matters. As I was saying, the labor laws were divided on political lines. CPM unions would go to Mr. Keshav. CPI unions would go to Mr. Ensign Narasimha. INTUC unions, they used to go to one D. Rajagopal. The Sanjay Nagar road, D. Rajagopal was there. That is named after him. And then came Leela Krishna. Mine was a non-political union. Where would I used to go to Mr. Arvind.
He was still an advocate then. He was not-
At that time, by the time I became an advocate, he had become senior. But he was the person, it had to be signed by two advocates. See, the application was signed, my enrollment application was signed by Mr. Narasimha and Mr. B.V. Mangappa, to whom Mr. Narasimha had introduced me. And I started my career in Mr. B.V. Mangappa's office, a great soul. They came and told Mr. Narasimha, sir, they are undertaking, they are asking me that I should file an undertaking, that I would not climb backwards. Then he told, no, don't give that an undertaking. If they insist, you tell that you have already filed a petition against Canada, you want my filing another petition against Bar Council. I have been an obedient student. Next year, every Friday, this drama used to take place. Next Friday I went, what you have thought of? I told him, this is what I have thought of. Then he wrote the meeting, the matter has to be decided with the Bar Council, not with the Enrollment Committee. The matter was referred to for Bar Council, and that time when HR Patil from Dharwad was in charge. For 1 year, no meeting with the Bar Council. In the interim, the secretary of the Bar Council, the district, the rank person, he called me and told, Mr. Rajagopal, I cannot see you again. Why don't you make an application for decision by circulation? 120 rupees or 200 rupees, I don't remember. That was the amount to be paid. That I paid. Circulation, it went, everybody said yes, yes, yes. It again went to the person who had so told it should be decided in the full parliament. So he wrote, this is a dissent. And the circulation rule says once upon, even if one person dissents, it has to go before the meeting. Entire thing took about an year, and 1986 November I made an application for enrollment. I was enrolled on 19th November 1987. I don't want any young advocate to suffer that agony. 1 year, you do not know whether you will be admitted as an advocate or not. That is the uncertainty. That is how I became an advocate by accident. Then my enrollment itself was a 1 year affair. Rajagopal enrollment. This is how I became an advocate, and lot of turmoil. The reason I should say how I chose to enter the law. Of course, my great-grandfather was an advocate practitioner in Chicago. But for the next 2 generations, we did not even have any inkling of law. My grandfather was not an advocate, my father was a Kannada teacher, and I started my career as a physics teacher. So it was also unplanned entry, I should say. And inspiration came from Mr. T.C. and then we should not surrender. That is a lesson taught to me, told to me by Mr. Narasimha, even at the time of enrollment. See, they are all great persons who have contributed. Our bar is respected. About reservation. In reservation, what was the issue? For admission to MBBS course, reservation in excess of 50% was provided by state of this. That was also argued by Mr. Venkataraman, M.R. Balaji. In Balaji's case, law is laid down, reservation cannot exceed 50%. Even today that is zero. That was in the year 1963. Some slight oscillating views were taken in the interview in between. 50% is not sacrosanct, it can exceed. And then one judge to the extent of saying that 100% reservation also can be done. How he overcame Balaji is, see, if you have made up your mind, you can give reasoning to justify any conclusion. When Balaji was pointed out to the judge of work, the question was very simple. Whether a single post can be resolved. If you apply Balaji, it cannot be. Subsequently, Chakradhar Paswan had come, which had reiterated there cannot be 100% reservation. To overcome that, a very strange logic was propounded by one judge, which said, you will fill up that post by rotation. In the first post, it will go to reserve category. After his retirement, the post becomes second time vacant. Then we give it to general merit. Therefore, it will be less than 50%. This type of arguments for all aberrations had all cropped up, but ultimately, larger page judgment in Indira Sani, it reiterated Demar Balaji, and today Balaji is the law. Not about the longevity of Balaji, but about the legal values are propositions which are time resistant. They have no expiry life. There is nothing called as shelf life. When these judgments are looked at, they have no expiry period. They are legal values and judicial principles which are valid for all times to come. Then, importance of representation by an advocate in a judicial proceeding. See, like until 1975, right to property was a fundamental right. 42nd Amendment took it away, but introduced Article 300 capital A, which made it a constitutional right. In the Land Reforms Act was intended to as a socio-economic development of the weaker sections. That is, a realization came that social development can take place only with economic strengthening. And how do you strengthen economically, financially a poor man? Land reforms was part of a measure where tiller would become only. And one important aspect was that advocates cannot represent the parties before the land. That was the provision. That was struck down. That was also argued by the attorney.
Sir, why was he called as this writ time?
Because this is writ was a right given to us under the Constitution. And he propounded for what purposes that it can be used. For example, in Balaji, by a writ, you can strike down an act of the executive which violates your fundamental rights. What is the fundamental right? Right to equality. Right to equality, if it is breached by the executive, how do you make the executive action nullified, or how do you strike down the executive action? By issue of a writ. if it is a law which is unconstitutional, a writ would be issued declaring that law to be unconstitutional. If there is a quasi-judicial order which is unconstitutional, which is contrary to this law, certiorari would be issued. Or in a case where something is being done without jurisdiction by a judicial body or a quasi-judicial body, prohibition will be issued. All these were writs which were given to us by the Constitution, and Constitution would not work by itself. It requires a Venkataranga to make it work. And he made the law of writ to work. One thing was, he was the leader of the bar at a time when the writ remedy was being tried in the country for the first time. Because before Constitution, no writ was available. Constitution was brought this remedy of writ. And that remedy was activated by doings of the bar like Mr. S.K. That is why he is called as retired. Because law gives a remedy by the process of making the law work. He is the person who made writ remedy work. That is why perhaps he is called as a retired. In fact, I had the good fortune of seeing some of these great ways of Mr. V. Krishnamurti on the civil side, who would, and then Venkataranga was arguing even before the Karnataka administrative. One matter was there about a Sanskrit teacher who had been dismissed or something. Mr. S. He was the government advocate. Venkataranga appeared for the applicant. Even before he could open his case, Ishwar decided that no, he was not eligible, and then we have done it correctly, we have dismissed him. Then look at the presence of Narasimha. 100 ಜನ PhDಗಳು ತಂದು ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸ್ತೀನಿ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾಥಮೆಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತ ಒಬ್ಬನ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡ್ ಬರ್ತೀನಿ. That is how he made the writ remedy work. See, not only the knowledge of law, but knowledge of life, knowledge of societal realities, all these were made. Those days, when we go to the association during lunch, you would see a high value discussion about law, legal principles. You will put it in you are all new entrants like kindergarten school. Even we could go on Bayoro. But they were great. Then various values of these great men of the province. Recently we saw a judgment render, even though we did almost on a day-to-day basis. Justice Rajagopal was our Chief Justice. Some resolution passed by some bar association that nobody will defend a particular person in criminal cases. That type of resolutions, and then Chief Justice had to correct it. How corrective forces were there? Because one thing we should always remember is advocates we should not be allowed to be regulated by outsiders. It is a noble profession comprising of eminent members who have a larger societal perspective. When such noble membership is there for the bar, are we not capable of regulating ourselves? Should we be regulated by some outsider saying, yes, I can't say Chief Justice is an outsider, stricto sensu, but he is outside the bar. He is on the bench. Should we require a bench to regulate our conduct as bar? Can there not be any corrective forces from amongst ourselves? Why should we pass such a resolution at the first instance? Because right to be defended by somebody is a human right. Even Kanun Guru Munchana right it. It is not a right given to us by law. Even Maneli, ಯಾರಾದರೂ ಬಂದು ದಂಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಒಬ್ಬರಾದ್ರೂ ಬಂದು ಅವ್ರ ಮಗುಗೆ ಡಿಫೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡೋರು ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. See, right to be defended is a human right. I see now, I don't know whether Rashid murder case it was a major case because Ramakrishna English government was the first non-Congress government in the state. And then luckily there were no this 24/7 news channels. That was one great redeeming feature there. The question came, in Rashid murder case, Rashid was from Kerala. It all started where he wanted to establish a medical college and also many intricacies we not know. In that, Mr. A.J. Rajagopal, who was an advocate, later he became chairman of our advocate, president of the Advocates Association, something like that, and he became a judge of our Sadashiva was to appear for one of those items. Then association took a stand that no, nobody should defend the accused. Then it was Mr. Arvind who said, everybody has the right to be defended. One cannot take such a infantile stand or a juvenile stand. We are all mature members. And after all, any advocate can take such a stand. That is not the greatness. Greatness is he resigned from members of the association. That also I will not say as a great act. But he said he stopped utilizing the advocates hall. After all, hall is provided by the association, by the High Court for advocates to rest. You would not enter that hall because he said, no, Mr. Gopal, I cannot enter the hall. That is provided by the High Court to the Advocates Association. I have resigned from the membership that is, therefore I cannot utilize the facilities given by the High Court because it is given to the Advocates Association. Through that, advocates may benefit, that is different. And he used to stand outside the bench. Have carried over the bench. Another thing is, you see, each of the persons has such sovereign qualities. My senior, Bishop Bipin, his drafting is something super. As a government advocate, he used to write by hand the objection statements.